By the way, we have a lone policeman on his bicycle, by the way.
Oh, well, I mean, the TRAs don't come anymore. Weirdly, since we stopped having stewards, the TRAs sort of leave us alone, except at other events. So they had their fun, I guess. Right. You can fiddle with whatever you like, Mary. Oh, look, I think I can do live sales. Can I?
Live sales?
Tag products. Oh, yeah. Do you wanna? Woo!
So what does it do? Does it just scroll?
I have no
I'm
idea.
going to find out.
Tag products. All right, fine. That one. Tag. Save. I don't even know what it's doing. Pin to live stream. Oh. This is a luxurious hoodie. Tag.
Very much like my own
Save.
luxurious hoodie.
So,
I
God
got
knows.
it at work from, I think someone got it was too small for them. Gave it to charity, it ended up in Aja's hands, and then ended up in me.
Nice.
So obviously, it was meant. It's handy being able to.
Yeah, it is.
I've got loads of stuff that is too small for people.
It's a lot of thingies.
I decided to kick off a debate about circumcision.
Why not? Are you pro it or against it?
Well, I think it might be one of the first. For me, it's one of those things where it's supposed to be a minimal thing.
Like you know. But isn't it meant to be good for women's female health? Because it's not that underneath it. You hope.
But let me just say this off camera.
On edge.
There is a reason that.
Who disappeared?
Yeah, they're lovely, aren't they? I've got a coin, by the way. I've got my own bit. Are you going? Anyway. I am going.
Yeah, so no, I wish I had nuts.
It's nicely possible.
Hello, good afternoon. I got here early, which means I forgot some of my really necessary equipment, i.e. a microphone. That's all right. You can still hear me the same. It's just a huge audience at home. They won't be able to hear it so well. So if you do speak, you have to speak like A, quite close to the camera, and B, as loud as you possibly can. But anyway, welcome. We couldn't do it last month because it was pouring. It was like horizontal rain. So I always start like this. What a day this has been. What a rare mood I'm in. Why it's almost like being a tub. Just like being an Admiral Voyage. Anyway, we are gathered here on this Sunday morning, afternoon, because America has overtaken us, ladies. What can I say? They got a much admired, adored, some might say, by the left in this country, man in office, and by hook or by crook, and I don't really care why, he's had this amazing executive order, which basically says that men aren't women. I know it's incredible, and there are some people still saying things like, oh, he's got ulterior motives, and I'm just thinking, I don't quite know what they could be to stop men being in women's sports. Maybe he's invested a lot of money in some sort of all-women team. I have no idea. But anyway,
They're going to still take a long time, but the fight in America, whilst there are still many little fights that need to happen, basically the boss of the country has said, you can go fuck yourselves when it comes to men and women's sports, men and women's spaces, and that executive order, clearly written by a TERF, means TERF Island is kind of a little bit behind now, and I'm quite competitive. And I think what we need to do is we need to charge ahead, because if we get this stuff correct before they codify any of those laws, then we can get ahead. So, the one thing I think that all of us need to appreciate is
Every single institution in this country, without exception, is either woke, completely captured,
or the upper strata is captured and everyone else is too shit scared to speak out. And I just want to talk about the NHS because they want to sue me. Oh, I brought some stickers. Oh no, I didn't bring some stickers. I have brought some stickers. You can all have some stickers. But there is the thing with the NHS is they want to sue me because I've done a poster. Did my husband put them in? Oh, he's so useless. He's not useless. But my lovely husband didn't put the boards in. However, what they say is that there are male cervical screening. There's male cervical screening, right? So it's a poster. It does look a little bit like the NHS, and it's got no men per year die from cervical cancer. And I don't know, I think it's very funny. Clearly a parody, but because the NHS think it's so close to their actual materials and policies, they're claiming that it's a copyright infringement. So, oh yes, thanks Mary, this is it.
So the idea is, if you are part of our locals, or even if you're not, if you want to go and stand outside of your local
NHS, doctor's surgery, I went into mine in disguise because I found. But I went into mine on Friday with one of my children, and as I walked in, the doctor said, "And what's your name?" And I was like, I just said, "Oh," and then I said my child's name, and they said, "No, your name." I was like, "Oh God, is he Nathan?" My name's Dave. So anyway, so there's these, and then there's this beautiful one here, and then there's a male version as well. So this is the bare minimum that they probably spend on diversity, equity, equality, and inclusion hires. This is not the things that those people then do. This is not the external training. This is merely the personnel. It's at least 50 million a year. So if you want to go and have a little chat with some people at the hospital, because what they all rely on, as we've seen with Sandy Peggy, is everyone that works there is too frightened to say anything. Including women that watch a doctor sexually assault someone by not being the sex that they claim, so without consent, without informed consent, touching patients. Nobody gives a shit about that. Nobody's going to tell anyone about that. And that's because as a worker you have more rights and you are more protected than you are as a patient. And I think what we now need to accept is that chaperones, the chaperone is not for you. It's for the hospital. It's so that when they get accused of sexual assault, that there's someone else that will say, no, that didn't happen. That's as far as, I mean, it might be cynical, but that's kind of how I feel about those chaperones now. That it's just bullshit. And I don't know if you know this, but there's also a system in the UK that if you're a woman and you're going for surgery, then there has to be a female in that operating theatre. Why, you would ask? Because I'm understanding there's no difference apparently between men and women, according to my recent Twitter little argument I created where I said, what do you look for in a good man? And we were like, I look for the same in a good man as a good woman because there's no difference. But there is a difference, and that's why we have single-sex spaces. Otherwise, why? Why is any of this relevant if we're all actually the same? But anyway, I digress. So in the NHS, I don't feel anymore. I think if you're going to an appointment and you need to make sure that you're safe in that appointment, take someone else with you. Always. Because I don't think a chaperone can be trusted even if she is a woman. I think we've got to that point where we understand that many people throughout the NHS, and this is very sad because I don't mean to be disparaging against every single person that works in the NHS, but there are so many now that will stand aside and watch the most disgusting, terrible things happen to children, or even in Jimmy Savile's case, like raping kids, like sexual assault, like they know that he's going to sexually assault someone and they just let it happen. All those nurses back in the psychiatric ward, that told a woman she was a transphobic bigot because she felt afraid of the man in the female-only wards next to her, right? And we also know that when we speak about this, when we complain about this, when we talk about safeguarding, we have a special tone that means nobody actually can understand the words that we're saying, because we have that shrill, awful female voice with our words that mean it doesn't actually matter what we say anyway. Who gives a shit? Which is another reason why if you have a husband or a boyfriend or a male partner, it's really good to take them with you if you need a cat. I'm not a vet, but you know, I just think we're at that point. I think all bets are off on the things that you think you can trust. You think you can trust the law, and yet I've complained so many times about being targeted to the police that actually it takes too long, and I've given up until recently. And let me just tell you, there's a boy that used to run around on a BMX bike. We'll call him a boy, but he's an absolute twat. and he's a very posh absolute twat. And then he started pretending that he actually was a girl and a detransitioner. And now he's a fully fledged criminally responsible adult. And what he did is he started to phone me again. So he phoned me throughout Christmas morning, and he phones me sporadically, and he's been harassing me since before COVID, where he used to tell me that he hoped my kids would die of cancer and all these long messages. And then he had a conversation with EJ Rosetta where they talked about how to make me feel terrorised by using the names of my children. Then he'd phone and speak to me and just generally harass me. And then what he did a couple of days ago is he phoned me when I was reporting the harassment in the police station. And so they heard. And what was great, when somebody does that and you can hear him selecting different songs on Alexa, what, such a cock. Is the police women listening are doing, first of all, they're like, you know, it's not really serious and just playing music, and then it goes on and on and on, and I'm not saying a word, and it goes on and on and on. And then they're beginning to go, does this happen often then? How often does it happen? And we're talking about the sort of the rate of harassment. And then he hangs up, and then he phones again. And then he phones again. And so then they're like, oh, okay. So then they take it seriously. When somebody put up a website including photos of my children and when they went to where they went to school, a policeman came round to my house to take the report, and I could not get that man to fucking leave my house. So I tried the, okay, thanks so much then. Because he basically said, well, if you will put things online, what do you expect? You know, if you will say that these men aren't women, what do you expect? And then I had to close the conversation and the interaction 5 times, and that didn't work. And then I had to ask him to leave my house. He was so uncomfortable. And when I complained, and this sounds like I promise this is absolutely true. When I complained to the police, I had to sit with a female sergeant and talk about it, and she said, did he call you?
out of the blue? No. Did he come round again? Did he send you flowers? And I'm like, what? And she said there'd been a number of complaints about a number of officers in the Wiltshire Police Force where they'd been harassing female victims of crime. Like, not, it might be that one. It was like, it was a culture, by the sounds of it, in the Wiltshire Police that they would do that. What are we doing? Is it wrong?
Well, we're just trying to work out something with Twitter again.
Oh, Twitter's weird. Elon.
You heard it here.
Yeah, and I'm not even monetised, so they can fuck off. Anyway, so we're not just here to listen to me, although I'm sure we'd all be very happy. I would. But we're here to listen to other women come and speak, and then men. Vagina havers first. So if you've got something to say, you have to stand this close to the film, I'm afraid. So would anyone else like to speak? You can't be this guy. I will. Come on. I'm an idiot. Yeah?
So I thought it would be a good idea to talk about when people say, you can't say that. Because most often that leads to some kind of censorship. And mainly because of ideological insensitivities. So I've written something here and I've done it in 4 parts. Am I talking loud enough? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, part 1, anal sex. A few years ago, it was reported in the British Medical Journal that doctors' reluctance to discuss anal sex was letting women down. Because it turns out that the female anal anatomy is different to males.
Shocking.
And because of this, females participating in anal sex are more likely to experience pain and bleeding, more likely to suffer anal sphincter injury, they're more likely to a risk of fecal incontinence, and they're more likely to be coerced or motivated by pleasing their partner. So this is a public health issue, and women and adolescent girls should be informed, and they should be told about the risks. They should know that their arsehole is anatomically different to a man's. So why are the medical professionals reluctant to raise awareness and educate on this matter? It's because they might be seen as homophobic. So due to some weird perceived homophobia, women are less informed about the risks, less able to protect themselves properly, and less empowered to say no. So part 2, cousin marriages. In a recent concern raised in Parliament regarding first cousin marriages, it was quickly quashed because it was deemed insensitive to cultural traditions. This is despite first cousin marriages being a known genetic catastrophe to their offspring because of the heightened risk of congenital disorders, especially when this happens through multiple generations. And so this is another public health issue. It's in the public interest to know and take steps to protect practices that can lead to physical disabilities and cognitive impairment. Not only for the difficulty that this presents to the individual child over their lifetime, but also the strain that this puts on their family and to wider society as a whole. There's already a special needs crisis where there's insufficient provision available, so knowingly adding to the problem is a big societal issue. Incest is illegal, marrying siblings is illegal, so there's already structures in place to criminalise first cousin marriages, but apparently we can't speak about it because it's deemed racist and culturally insensitive. Part 3, grooming rape gangs. We are acutely aware of the fear of being labelled Islamophobic was a key reason why the police, social services and others allowed the Pakistani grooming rape gangs to continue unchecked for so long. And don't give me the weak argument that there are more white paedophilic men in this country. Of course there are. We're a majority white country. The difference is that there's no cover-up when it's a white nonce. The only investigations, then the investigations can proceed unimpeded. This is with the exception of when those men are rich and famous, and then we see a whole other layer of cover-up. So even now, even after these organised Pakistani grooming rape gangs have been forced into the headlines, and the shocking details of what those girls endured have been publicly exposed, we're supposed supposed to call them Asian gangs. So no, we're not going to temper our language and hide the truth. They are Pakistani, they are groomers, and they are child rapists. Part 4, men in our spaces.
Yes.
Just this week, the Scottish Parliament banned discussions of the gross failures perpetrated by NHS 5, and no doubt all other NHS hospitals up and down the land, by allowing men unrestricted access to women's spaces. Why? Well, because they're gutless cowards who are willing to throw women's hard-won rights in the bin to appease bullying men who pretend to be women and their vicious TRA minions. So in a classic line from that case, the lawyer, Jane Russell Casey, said to Sandy Peggy, "You could have chosen not to say anything." This is what they seem to want. They want us to choose not to say anything, to silently put up with the wrong that is taking place in front of us. And many do stay silent for speaking up. But now's the time to speak. Dr. Theodore Upton claims he feels harassed by basic facts.
Good.
And he's been hurt by a woman saying no. Well, boo fucking who?
Yeah.
Reality's a bitch, and reality's transphobic, according to their dumb logic and language. So whenever you're told to be silent, because speaking the truth is said to be homophobic, or racist, or Islamophobic, or God forbid, transphobic, that's the time to speak. Because staying silent is covering up a harm, and allowing that harm to continue. So cultural sensitivities and ideological language can go fuck themselves. And so can anyone who thinks that feelings matter more than real life tangible harm. So if anyone ever says to you, you can't say that, the answer is, yes, I fucking can.
Yay! Oh, that was very good.
Look, you don't have to hold back here. You want it to be more forthright. We've got, so anyway, going back to the police, hopefully they're now going to investigate this man who's been harassing
Many people for a really long time, and using the police because he's, let me just say, protected characteristic. I would like, personally, I think we leave the European Court of Human Rights. We get rid of that. We get rid of, the European, the Equality and Human Rights Council, or whatever we've got in this country. It just feels like a big fat waste of money. I'd like to get rid of that. I'd like to get rid of the idea of gender identity as a protected characteristic. It just, the Equality Act feels just bizarre. I'd like a Disability Rights Act, maybe a proper with teeth Children's Act, a Women's Act, and a Men's Act. I do think that these things need to be argued as separate things. You know, there are some things that we're the same, and there's some things that are not. And I think many men's activists would like to find out what the fuck is going on with men and suicide. And I think that should be something thought about. I've got 3 sons and a husband. I have a vested interest in men being all right in this country. But also we women have something completely different. I don't want it as a competing right. And I just also think that this idea of protected characteristics when it comes to the police, that means that a man's right to get his cock out in a woman's changing room is a protected characteristic, a protected right. Whereas my right not to see his penis is not so much. I don't have that right in work. We'll see if this sex discrimination case happens for Sandy Peggy. And I tell you the fear I have when you listen to Upton. He will be argued by the woke, who many are now pretending they were never woke in the first place. Ash Sarkor, like she'll be, look, she's the first, and she must have some incredible amount of gall that she carries around with her. But she might be the first, but this is what's going to happen. All the people, they'll say, oh, well, look, you know, back in that interview, I said that I believe in women's rights for everyone, and that's what I was talking about. They won't tell you that they meant also women with penises, right? So we're going to see all these people denying. We're going to see now quite a lot of people coming out saying, well, I was trans and I'm sorry. I never transitioned or anything. I never transitioned, but I'm sorry to everyone. And we'll see a lot of women on our side going, oh my God, that's so brave to admit your mistake.
I just want to say, just be mindful.
Yeah.
I'd maybe give someone your time and sympathy, but
Keep your hands firmly out of your pockets when it comes to promoting these people, because I think there's going to be a lot of grifting going on where people pretend they were never part of this, and Ash just happens to be one of the first out the block, so well done to her. Because I think she's got
trans women are women.
I know she's still, but she was also saying all the other stuff, that, you know, there will come a time that even all of these people that never risked a damn thing by saying trans women are women will then say, well, I never said it. I didn't really say it. I never said it. Or I was wrong. I'm so sorry, everyone. Buy my book. Buy my book, How I Was Wrong. After the book where I told you that I could never be wrong and I'm completely right. So buy my book. Anyway, the one thing you all can do, and people ask often what you can do, and men,
this is specifically for you, actually. You can go to the school and talk about your children, especially your daughters in single-sex spaces, and what your children are learning. I promise you, nobody wants to admit this is true, but you will be listened to much more than if your wife goes or the mother of your kids. Yeah. Right? So men, you have to go. Men, you have to be the ones that takes your mother into hospital or into a care home or into any situation, or if your mother's getting a sort of a check by social services to see what they can offer her, you have to be the person in the house when that person comes around, so you can say sternly, firmly, I want female-only care for my mother. And then we'll all remember that the reason that isn't an automatic right anymore is because of the fucking Equality Act. Which means that a man's right to have a caring role, looking after a woman in her own home, is under the protected characteristic and sex discrimination. So you can't, but you know, that's because they're all the same. But you can't now say that that man can't be in your house looking after your mother, or can't be in a hospital intimately caring for a woman in a coma. You can't say any of that because that's sexist. So in many ways, some of these things we've brought on ourselves, including expensive car insurance. That's the Equality Act. The reason I have to pay the same as my husband, despite the fact that I'm genuinely far less risk, is because sorry, that was distracting. Is because of the Equality Act. So some of this just has to go. It's just ridiculous. I don't want. So anyway, that's what men can do. You need to go to the schools. You need to be the advocate sometimes for your family. Whereas quite often, I think women just do all of that kind of labour. We're the ones that go and get it sorted out. But men often say, "What can I do?" Well, that's what you can do. You can go and be the advocate for your family, for your kids, for your elderly relatives. You can make sure that if your wife is going in for any sort of procedure, hospital appointment, that you become the chaperone. I remember one of my uncles used to do that, and everyone thought he was weird because he would insist that he didn't want his wife to be in that vulnerable position, and we all thought he was far too overprotective and it was weird, suspecting the doctors. And now I think we should all have been doing that all along, not just because there are bad people who exploit opportunities, but because there are so many fucking people that just look the other way and allow it. There've always been bad people. There've always been the people that go in a shop and the only reason they don't nick something is because they're being watched. Right? There's always been those people, but there always used to be watchers. There always used to be people watching for other people doing bad things who would speak up. But now we know, basically through the whole Sandy Peggy case, what we know is that loads of people are willing just to turn the other way. How many times has that man been in a position where somebody was pretending that they thought that he was a woman and they felt uncomfortable?
Well, we don't know because nobody bothered to take any interest. Same with the Darlington nurses. That man in their changing room, that wasn't day one of pretending to be a woman. That wasn't day one of gaslighting patients and staff. That wasn't. That might have been day 50. He might have seen 50 patients up until that point. So I just think that if you've come to this point in your activism where you are prepared to speak out, and I know most of us are, then we really do owe it to those that aren't to keep talking. Sorry.
Weirdo man.
Wow. There's things on the tip of my tongue that I just can't say it, people. I just can't say it.
Yes, you can.
I didn't do fuck all, mate. I did the everything. I just stole something. I didn't do fuck all. I just nicked it. It worked. Anyway, I just want to keep reminding you that whilst America's got it covered, we haven't. We haven't got it covered at all. It's everywhere. It's all the time. Even there's a factory near me that makes kind of cheap meals. It's called Appetito, and I think they work with like Wiltshire Farms or some other. Yeah. I don't know how much farming goes on in that factory, but I don't know. I don't want to cast aspersions, but they've got. I live in a very small, socioeconomically kind of deprived town, and they've got a whacking great big Progress Pride flag outside of their factory with like all the staff outside smiling, and it's towns like mine, I promise, where they act with absolute no barrier whatsoever in the schools, everywhere, because this is their latest kind of frontier, if you like. This is where they're going. They're going into schools, so there's fucking pride parades in a school where the behaviour is so bad, probably in 50% of the classes, that no one's learning anything. But they've got pride parades. I mean, I personally think we need, not Elon Musk, but we need something like that throughout our budgets to find out how much money are we spending on this crap.
Charlotte
and
Gill.
The other, pardon?
Sorry, Charlotte Gill.
Charlotte
She's
Gill.
doing it.
Thanks, Charlotte. We know that the other day I was looking up police DEI, and there's not a job under 50k. There's not a job under £50,000 a year that you can get. And what do you have to do when you get that job? You have to earn it. How do you earn it? By all these fucking training days, by all these policies, by recognising all these bizarre things like, oh, you know, that asexual people, aromantic people are deprived because, well, because let's have a day. Let's have a whole day discussing it. Can we find out how they're deprived? So anyway, who else would like to speak? I'm hoping, I might have to make you, yes, come.
Everybody can plan, really. I just wonder, when you say it's how deep is it in our institutions, I think it's got quite deep. I've been called a transphobe by a number of my counsellors. I don't understand why. But anyway, so I thought I'd look at some of their policies to think where they're getting it from. So in 2021, I wrote to Huntingdonshire District Council and told them their equality policy was wrong. And a woman called Joanna Lancaster wrote back to me and said, what's on the site is the incorrect policy. We've got the correct policy behind the scenes, but actually we'll do something about it. So what they did about it is they put a corporate plan online. And the corporate plan doesn't really tell you how it meets the Equality Act. So it goes on about all sorts of things, including housing. And it's not very clear. So I thought I'd have a look. And so there's nothing on their website that tells you what they mean by equality. But they have got some equality impact assessments, and they can be quite telling. So I don't think, since the Equality Act was introduced that they've ever had a correct equality policy in Huntingdonshire District Council. And one of their equality impact assessments, let me tell you, so it's done on the 28th of May 2024. So this would have been done after Maya Forstater's case.
Yeah.
So they should know. We also, a bit later than May, they've also had the Liz Pitt case, but there's nothing been new put on there. And this equality impact assessment is called the Renewal of HDC Workforce Strategy, and it was done by the Strategic HR Manager and the HR Manager Project. So you think they would know what they're talking about, because these are probably the people that are on 50k a year.
Yeah.
So they looked at their staff and they thought, sorry, I'm one bad thing. So they've got the sections. Disability covers nearly 2 pages explaining disability. Gender reassignment has nearly a page and a half to it. And gender reassignment is covered, it covers transgender and gender reassignment. So transgender is obviously something different and not quite the same as gender reassignment. But they don't tell you what. What they do link to is a CIPD document about inclusion at work, perspectives on LGBT plus working lives. And it is the biggest load of bollocks you have ever read. And have a look, it's really interesting. So these people have used this document in order to do their equality impact assessment. You go to sex,
Yes, please.
and sex on the document, sorry, I'm just getting a bit, my bloody thing's on. It says it's relating to male and female, or,
Wait for it.
sorry, or people pertaining to male and female. I've lost the thing, but it's not 100%, it is bollocks. It's male and female, but it's not male and female, people who are. But it also says, on the explanation, they'll meet the needs of all employees regardless of their sex or gender identity. So even within sex, they've incorporated gender identity. So you're not, they cannot meet your ability on the basis of your sex. In my 2021 letter, they said that they will provide single-sex spaces and X, Y, Z, but they also, Huntingdonshire District Council, also manage One Leisure. So One Leisure now have got mainly mixed-sex changing rooms, all these villages, but where they had, say, like a women's aqua swim 5 years ago, that's no longer available. There's no classes for women because any fucker can go. So I'd like to ask Huntingdonshire District Council, where's your equality policy and how do you protect women's single-sex rights? Or don't you? Because I don't think you do. Thank you.
Come on then, ladies, before I have to, yay, come on.
So I'm just following up. I spoke in Nottingham about the WI, and we've had a response. Thanks to Graham Linehan's retweet of a tweet and everyone else retweeting it. So I'm going to read out some of the response and then I will tell you my opinions of it. NFWI board election update. This week, a WI member has removed herself from the NFWI board election process. The individual in question is a well-respected fellow member with a long history of membership of the WI. She has taken this decision due to the level of personal abuse, both online and in real life, that she and her family have experienced since the election materials were circulated. As far as we're aware, this abuse has come from outside our membership, but was generated as a result of sharing NFWI election materials and candidate names on social media. Oh, I wonder who did that. Due to the nature of the abuse and targeted contact made with the individual's family members, NFWI has received legal advice to refer this matter to the police and the Charity Commission for investigation. There's a bit more blurb. Then it says, we pass on our thanks to the candidate in question. We are sorry that in this situation we failed to keep her and her family safe from abuse. As an organisation, we hope we can put this situation behind us and move forward. and that our core principles of truth, tolerance, fellowship and justice continue to guide us. We would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to you as WI members for your commitment to our values and your ongoing friendship and support. We would also like you to refrain from commenting on this issue on social media in order to avoid prejudicing any investigation by the Charity Commission or the police. And then there's a bit more. I've redrafted it for them. This week, a WI member has removed himself from the NFWI He took this decision after being publicly ridiculed for his stunning and brave red wig and stealing women's IT awards. We would like to apologise to members for gaslighting them that this person is a woman, for failing to conduct due diligence which would have revealed discrepancies in the Charity Commission's register regarding this individual, and also the cover-up in WI Life which did not publish photographs. We need to understand what our core principles of truth, tolerance, fellowship and justice mean, and will be patched in a dictionary. Remember Please do not say anything on social media as the public ridicule is more than we can bear. And we're still not talking to members who have been harmed by gender woo.
I don't want to boast, but both of those witty women are part of Party Women. So. That is one thing we've got, isn't it, as TERFs? We're all quite funny. I think you probably have to learn to laugh at this stuff because it's so nuts. I tried once to do a parody of the sort of parent that would sort of say that their 4-year-old was trans. Nothing I could do was funny enough that kind of made it any different to the actual people that call their kids trans. And I'm not even saying that for, like, genuinely, there was nothing. It just wasn't, you couldn't go nuts enough to make it kind of like a parody. Because everything I said, somebody had already said. Whereas normally, like, it used to be that you could be funny by taking something to like a weird extreme. Well, I just want to remind everybody when we're talking about reasonable trans, talking of it, what a great segue, talking of extreme, there's this notion of reasonable trans, and American conservatives are very guilty of this. And I just want to tell you all you moms, having a man with tits speak for you is not a reasonable position. There's not a reasonable position where a man who claims he's a man, knows he's a man, tells you he's a man. There's not an instance where having breasts is not an extreme act, right? There's no such thing as reasonable pretending to be the opposite sex. It is an extreme act. Asking you to call that man by a female name is an extreme act. Menno recently did a video where he did, is this a woman's top, right, or a man's top? And it just perfectly. But we know really that man's top wasn't a man's top, right? Okay, so you'll have to find the video, but Menno basically ordered some clothes from a men's section, men's clothes, and then when he put them on, we all, as a viewer, could kind of tell the difference between something that then looked like it was a woman's item of clothing and when it wasn't. And apparently we've got to this point where we all pretend we have to have some sort of academic idea and exploration as to whether or not something is a woman's or man's clothing. But I think just from sight, like, look, if a man really believes he's a woman, which we know they don't, but let's say he wants everyone else to believe he's a woman, or he's got all these lady feels that he needs to express. I'm just looking around me here. Most women here have got trainers on, or flat lace-up shoes, like they might have walking shoes, and they've got jeans, and they've got like a hoodie, and they've got a relatively unisex-looking coat. Yeah. Why is it that men that claim that they're women, they just want to, you know, they just really need to go out in those clothes? Why aren't they wearing those clothes?
Why is it that David Hayton would have to wear like a summery dress?
A marigold.
A marigold. And fucking cute shoes. No. Why is it that those men that claim to be women, when they dress as women, everyone knows they're wearing women's clothes? Well, it's not because they're just wearing like a plain t-shirt, is it? And there's a difference between like flamboyant, I can wear what I want clothes, and definitely women's clothes. And I just wonder sometimes whether it's being objectified. And I wonder whether sometimes when we look at some men in the media, there's a difference between needing to be admired, fancied, and objectified. And I don't even know why I've gone into this here. This is probably some thoughts that I need to have on my own. But there is something in that, and I think women are objectified, and so sometimes when men want to be seen as women, there's an element of being objectified in a submissive kind of sexually objectified way, and I wonder if that's kind of the secret of this all, and that's what we can all see. And I'm not saying women don't like being objectified, because sometimes, no matter how much we protest, I'm pretty sure that we don't mind our husbands objectifying us. I've seen a woman where she complains the last time her husband smacked her ass when she was doing the dishwashing. And she was gutted that didn't happen anymore, even though it annoyed her every day that it happened. So I'm just saying. Anyway, who else would like to speak? Preferably with the vagina. If you've brought yours along, you can come and talk. Otherwise, we're going to have to defer to a man and then all get warm in the pub. Yes!
Yay!
I'm rambling.
Just to say, I was at the National Theatre a few weeks ago, and it was like 5 o'clock, and I went into the ladies, and when I came out of the stall, there was a man drying his hands. So I said, "This is the ladies." I think I said sorry.
Of course.
Sorry, but this is the ladies. He says, "I'm not a man." I said, "You are a whole damn man." No, I'm non-binary. And I said, "But you're not, you're a man." He says, "No, I'm non-binary, I'm not a man." And I said, "But there's a unisex toilet upstairs, so you should be in there. I feel more comfortable here." I said, "But I don't feel comfortable with you here, and there are many women who wouldn't feel comfortable, not even to have to go to the Orthodox Jewish women or the Muslim women.
Thank you.
Most women would not be comfortable with you here." And then a young woman comes out of the stall and of course takes his side. He's not hurting anyone. He feels more comfortable here. He is not a man. He's weird. Sorry, he's a whole damn man, and he's in here. So I wrote to the National Theatre, and I said, he says he's more comfortable, but women aren't comfortable. What is your policy? Because what would make me comfortable sometimes when I'm at a play, and there's a huge queue before at the interval, would be just to go to the gents, because then I could actually go to the loo. So I might feel more comfortable doing that. Would that be okay if I just say to the men, "I'm not a woman, I feel non-binary"? You know, is that where this policy leads? And they wrote back about a week later and said, you know, "We await more information from the government." But first they said, "We foster an inclusive environment based on our everyone is welcome policy." And I said, "You haven't answered my question. Next time I'm at the theatre, if there's a long queue and I would feel more comfortable going to the gents, is that acceptable by you or not?" And then they wrote back and said, "We have all of these gender neutral single occupancy toilets in addition to the female toilets," which they actually called them female toilets, not gender whatever. And so I think what they're trying to say is, if you're a woman who's uncomfortable with men in the ladies' toilet, you can go and queue up for the individual cubicles. And he also mentioned the disabled toilet. So I wrote to Sex Matters, and they said they have a new policy coming up, which is going to offer clarity, because these venues don't know what to do, because their young staff are all fighting for this, for no holds barred, let men go wherever they want, and everybody's supposed to be happy with it. So I'm going to the theatre on Thursday.
I went to watch Ava Voyage very expensive. But they did really look like they were on stage. And they had single sex toilets. Even in schools, I remember ringing a school about my daughter and saying, do you have, what would happen if a boy started? And I always do it as if I'm woke. So it's like, what would you do if there was a boy and he was really distressed and he thought he was a girl? Where would he change? Because that sounds like I'm an idiot. I'm hoping you say the girls. And he would say the girls. And I said, what about the girls that aren't comfortable? And he said, well, we would find somewhere for the girls to be. I said, oh,
the girls
like a
have
girls
the
changing.
budget.
like a girls changing, that'd be amazing. But that's kind of, that's where we are, isn't it? That women, you might have to go to a place for everyone in order to get a place that you can't exclude anyone, rather than try and exclude anyone from the space that's supposed to be yours, where you're supposed to be able to exclude everyone. But it just is, it's just everywhere. So I truly think the answer to this is that we make a fuss wherever we go, which is really annoying, boring. Most of us have got far too many other things to do it. But I just think we go back to being the squeaky wheel. Yeah. One of my kids was tongue-tied. Let me just tell you. One of my kids was tongue-tied. Well, two of them were, which I thought was actually a euphemism for not being able to say something and get your words out. But actually, it's a real physical thing. Who knew? And when I went to go and I reported it to the doctor because I didn't even know. When we'd said it, we went to this amazing consultant, and he said, you need to get it snipped soon because midwives in my area didn't do it. And anyway, he got done really early, and then when it was my next son, we went to do the same, and then he was going to have to wait until he was 18 months. But the first time around, I've been told, get it done as soon as possible, because if they start speaking, they have to unlearn and relearn how to pronounce the words. So they were going to make my second son wait until he was 18 months, and I was like, no. So what I did is I then went every week to the GP, took up an appointment and said, I'm going to come back every week until my son gets pushed to the top of the list and gets seen. And that worked.
Yes.
So that's what you're going to have to do. Rather than go, oh, can't be asked. I'll just, fine. No, you're going to have to say, so when your letter comes back, you're going to have to do another letter. And then another letter and another letter. Yeah. And I think we all ought to, every time we book, with the National Theatre, now that we know that I think we knew that. Isn't that where Julia Long, a group of women got kicked out for wearing a lesbian t-shirt? I was there, I know. Was it because of the lesbian t-shirt?
Yes, yeah.
Mary knows. So it was a group of women were at the National Theatre Cafe Bar. This was years ago.
Empty green room.
Was that after that protest with the massive signs?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great! That was back in 2019, and we had these massive, great big signs outside of an education conference. Involved Ofsted. And we had big signs that showed what happens with phalloplasty and necrosis, and I mean, they were gross. And lots of women were very cross with me for doing that. But we did that, and then we went to the theatre bar thing. And then we got removed from there because women were wearing lesbian t-shirts and it made some of the staff feel unsafe. And they were offensive or something. But there was a guy with a, what did he have? Did he have a fuck Boris? Or
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, two
like
gay guys that were
two
sitting.
strapping gay guys.
That's right.
They
Yeah,
were quite,
yes, they were.
yeah,
Muscle
big
Marys.
big-
Yeah,
big- what do you call them?
Muscle Marys.
You can say that because you're a lesbian. And you're called Mary. So Muscle Marys, and they had something like fuck Boris or something really offensive on their t-shirts, and they were right to say. But these women got kicked out. Anyway, that was the National Theatre, so they've been arseholes for quite a long time. So I just think now, when you want to book a ticket, maybe phone them. Maybe phone the venue before you, even if you still intend to go. Because I'd like to say boycott, but it doesn't make any difference. You just end up missing out. So I would just say you phone and book a ticket and then ask. You know, even if you don't fancy a ticket, even if you just fancy just phoning them to ask and take up someone's time, so then they get pissed off. Oh, another middle-aged woman phoned and asked about the fucking toilet. Oh, that's all. I've had 7 calls this week about the toilets. I mean, I just think that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do with every single place that you ever go to. You may speak.
Yeah. Just another thing. A lot of the theatres and a lot of venues now have not labelled. So it will say 8 urinals and 2 cubicles. And 12 cubicles. Yes. So the ladies now becomes 12 cubicles. So men go in there. So I go in the gents. And then sometimes you have to wait, and so you're just standing behind men at the urinal and they shoot around. They're quite uncomfortable, and if they say anything to me, I say, please complain to the management. Maybe they'll listen to you, because there are men in ours, and so this is no longer the gents, this is now 2 cubicles and urinals. I have every right to be here. And actually the Royal Court did a strange thing. They did that with their commitments a few years ago, but they had women going into the gents inadvertently, and people were uncomfortable. So they disabled the cubicle toilet. So now any man who prefers a cubicle or needs a cubicle has to go to the cubicles. And they did that. It's all to make men comfortable. And to, and women are just supposed to self-exclude from that gender-neutral toilet because it has urinals and you don't. And just wait. And then even longer queue that now includes men. Some of whom just have that look like, so it's a problem, but I always go to gents if they're not.
That happened to be at Redgrave Theatre in Bristol, which is really small. Clearly used to be a men's and a women's, so everyone like naturally went to the toilet that they used to go to. And there was a massive queue of men's because they'd obviously disabled the urinal. So there were just 2 cubicles for the men. So there was a huge queue for the men's, not such a big queue for the women. So I didn't even notice that they weren't men's and women's. I went to the women's. There were 2 just regular blokes in the queue, and I was like, oh, this is the women's, and I was like, no, it's unisex. And a couple of other women said it's unisex, and I said, well, it shouldn't. Shouldn't. And what struck me when I was in there is actually the door closes behind you, so you're in quite old-fashioned toilets with like, they are floor to ceiling, sometimes not always, but floor to ceiling. And I'm just thinking, what if I'm a 13-year-old girl and I'm the only female in that room?
Yes.
And 2 people behind me are 2 blokes. In front of me are 2 blokes. And out of those 3 toilets come some blokes. And so that's what we're expected to do now. We're expected to be okay. And I'm just a raging kind of, I'd never shut up. So I'm very likely.
Really?
So I'm very likely. A man put a tray on my table. Oh, he would really. Can you stop?
But it happened at Southern Playhouse. I was waiting to go into the small theatre, and a young girl came out of the chance and said to me, look, because she just hadn't thought that was actually the chance. So
Yes.
Okay, who else would like to speak?
Maria.
Yay! Come on.
Hello, my name is Maria.
Hello.
I've done this before. I spoke at Let Women Speak in the Netherlands. That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
That was just over a year ago, and I actually went by Marnix. That's a male name. I was a TIF. I'm not anymore. And I don't know what came over me when I spoke back then, because, you know, TIF and then with all the turfs. But yeah, I'm just so happy that all these women are speaking up, sharing their stories, their voices. And for me personally, that really helped me, you know, sisterhood, to kind of like come to acceptance that I am just a woman, no matter how much testosterone I put in my body and damage my body. I got really sick from the testosterone, all these things that they don't tell you about. And also, I now accept that I'm just a lesbian.
Not just a lesbian, surely.
I'm a woman and I happen to be a lesbian, and that's okay. So yeah, please keep speaking up. Please, you know, hold the line. Be gentle with some of the trans-identified females, because I'm pretty sure they are just like me, where they know that they're not a man. And you know, they will find a way back into reality. So yeah, I share my story. I have a YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel is just Maria Witlof. That's really dark, so I'll spell it for you. Witlof, Maria Witlof. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Well done. Can you just hang on? Can I ask you what broke the spell? What do you think? What was there a defining moment, or was it just gradual?
Actually, so many things. It was just a personal journey where I figured out things. You know, there was trauma, and figuring out like I'm just a lesbian, because even as a trans man, I kept thinking, well, at least I'm not a lesbian. Yeah, well, it's really sad. And I was like, wait, this is not me. Like, I can just keep this act up, but it's not me. I'm not going to be happy. And my health was declining. So even when I spoke at Women Speak in the Netherlands, I was already thinking of detransitioning. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to be, you know, with the TERFs and all my, I think there were some old queer friends across the water, and I was like, this is going to be the last thing I'm going to do as a TIF.
Wow.
Yeah, because I knew I was just a woman on testosterone, and even then, like, we shouldn't normalize, you know, women harming their bodies. You can be gender non-conforming. Like, there's no. That's actually, someone told me there is no right or wrong way to be a woman, and that's what I needed to hear.
Right.
That was it.
Well done. Thank you so much.
There was another. Yes, come on.
It's all right. I've just had a text from Stella, you know, Radical Cartoons.
Oh.
Yes. And she says, get up there. So I'm in Somerset, but I'm over here today because I'm visiting family in Essex, and I've missed so many of these. I have to be here, so thank you. It's been brilliant. I'm just going to tell you the story about my doctor's surgery. I get a lovely little letter. Would I like to come for a smear test? Me being a person with a cervix. So I pop over and I say, what's this in the letter? Person with a cervix. Now, when I first went in and said, oh, I need to speak to someone, I was referred to receptionist 1. She looked about 8. And as soon as they heard me say that, suddenly up jumped the other 2 receptionists, and I get the head honcho. You know, oh, it's because it's trans. You know, so I tried to get a sort of conversation going. Why can't you just say women? You know, because men don't have cervix, they don't need it. Oh, but you know, it's not inclusive, it's trans. And eventually I just said, you know, do you know about the sexes? And she goes, well, yes, there are 3 sexes. Because there's men, there's women, and there's trans. So I just said, I think I'm just going to have to, you know, walk out today. There's obviously nothing I can say to you that I'm going to get any sense from anyone. But it was interesting looking at the 3. I said the little one, she probably really believes it because she looks like she literally just come out of school. So she probably does believe there are as many sexes, genders, whatevers, as anybody tells her at any given moment. The middle one had her head down, so she knows. She also knows that it's not worth her job to do anything about it. And it goes back to what we were all saying. So many people are cowards and won't say anything. But I love the head honcho one. She knows as well, but what she had was a fabulous sense of smugness about, look how progressive I am. I went on a course with a PowerPoint and you're just evil and stupid. Anyway, it triggered a few weeks later a text from the surgery saying, we notice you haven't been, you know, can we ring you about it? I just left it. And ring me they did while I was out shopping. It was quite funny walking around Hobbycraft, I think. I don't know who was listening in, but anyway. Why had I not come in for my smear test? I said, oh, is that the letter saying that I can come because I'm a person with a cervix? She went on the phone. It's a contentious issue. And I said, what's contentious? You not knowing that there's a difference between men and women, or me pointing it out? And then she goes, oh, well, you know, if you change your mind, let us know. And I said, when you know the difference between men and women, you let me know. So, you know, it's going to be very interesting how it all plays out. I haven't gone for one because, to be honest, I really don't know if they'd know where to stick anything. I'm not really really into, experimental medical procedures. I'm really fussy here. But I think I might be pursuing this. Let's have a little chat with the NHS with them. They can't just suddenly pretend, we never meant that. Oh, we were just being we have words for reasons. And if we start redefining all our language, nobody can talk about anything. And then it goes back to what you said. Maybe this is the point of it. Anyway,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Hey, thank you.
Come on then, mister.
Yeah.
Oh, are you waving?
Yeah, at you.
Don't do that. This is an important moment for female speakers. No, I will make you speak. Yes,
Okay. Hi. Right, so the council are trying to force my brother and I to agree to a community declaration of liberty on my mum, with the intent to put her in a care home. My mum is currently living at her home and has carers coming in 4 hours a day. She's always liked going out for walks and continues to do so. She has on occasion got lost and the police had to bring her back. We fitted a GPS tracker on her walking stick and cameras in the house.
Louder.
Oh, I'll start again then, sorry. Right, I'll start again.
No one's saying they can't.
Right, I'll start again. So my mum is currently living at home and has carers coming in for 4 hours a day. She's always liked going out for walks and continues to do so. She has on occasion got lost and the police have had to bring her back. We fitted a GPS tracker to her walking stick and cameras in the house. The GPS tracker has a geofence and the app will issue an alert if my mum leaves the area it's running. We want the carers to have the app running. One of them told me this was no problem as she always has people in the area, so she'd get one to pick mum up if it happens. Now since then I've called the carers and they won't confirm or deny this. The council have claimed for them to do this a community declaration of liberty is required. They claim the UK Supreme Court has come up with an acid test for this, which is, quoting from their letter, the Supreme Court has said that a person will be deprived of their liberty if they lack mental capacity to make decisions about care arrangements and if they're not subject to continuous supervision and control and they're not free to leave. Sorry, that is, they are subject to continuous supervision and control and they're not free to leave. This is what the Supreme Court called the acid test. Now, our position is that there's a clear implied and between 1 and 2, i.e. both of these conditions must be met. Also, the person in question must lack mental capacity legally. They have told us we must submit mum to a test of this at their discretion. When we said we need more time to think of this, they said they will go to the Office of the Public Guardian to get our lasting power of attorneys cancelled. Both my brother and I have the LPOAs for my mum, both property and finance and health and welfare. Obviously, if they can strip our LPOAs and mum's mental capacity, they can basically do anything to her. Last time she was in hospital, the hospital tried to get us to accede to an end-of-life pathway involving midazolam and morphine, and it was only because we had LPOAs we were able to stop them. So we must stop the council if we're to protect her life. It seems very likely, and in fact almost certain, that we're going to end up in court, so I'm contacting lawyers and I've started a crowdfunder, which I'm going to hand out.
Just being told, there's someone from the NHS who wants to speak. Can I just say, can we just have quiet because they're very vulnerable. really been through a lot. So just are you okay? Are you okay to let we're all here in solidarity?
I'm the fragile lady doctor. I'm biologically female. It says so on my badge.
I'm trying to do a Scottish accent.
That's good, it's good.
Actually, I did do some research about what this blog sounds like. A friend of mine, she actually went to the tribunal and she told me this, and I thought, easy. So I asked, what does he actually sound like? Instructions. soft lady voice, Scottish, okay, trying to be posh, not so much, especially with the judge. And then I thought this was interesting, and then it drops to a more casual, normal, male voice when forgetting the act, increasing to lady and passive-aggressive and snide when talking to Naomi. But never gravelly. I have to remember all this. Anyways, hello. That's the best I can do. I'm a lady. I'm looking for the ladies' changing room. Tell me where it is, and also if you're looking for a female doctor, that's me, because it says so on my badge. Also,
Turn your badge. Turn your badge.
turn
Love.
of it. Yeah. I was looking for a rainbow lanyard, and I had one. I'm like, I have a box. It's like a TARDIS in my room. Anyways, yeah. So it's been such a terrible 2 weeks for me at the tribunal. I've cried so many lady tears. I really needed to be affirmed and validated afterwards. So I asked my wife, "Can you cut me balls?" Oh, is that the time? I have to do my rounds. But quick, I need to buy some big girl pants. This is funny, right? Because somebody went, oh, he said big girl pants. No woman ever uses that. And I'm like,
I do.
maybe he used you for inspiration. Who knows?
Yes.
Anyways, I better go because I need to get these big girl pants things, and I'll see you in Aberdeen.
Yay!
I'm a bloody Dean, darling.
Well, yeah. Somebody just said arrested. Can I just warn you, Mr. Menno? Because that's about an individual. Even though we all find it hilarious, that is the sort of thing that these assholes like to report people for.
Yep.
That's. Can I just say as well to Sean Fay. Sean Fay's just done a really good little podcast. I think it's called 3 Viewers or something. I don't know. But he's done it with who's that really unfunny Nish Kumar. I thought the program about his whole family was much more funny. It wasn't. But him and someone else, it's 2 childless men and a childless woman, all talking about the far right mum's net, basically, and how we all, like, women who become mothers suddenly turn far right. And I think actually what we do when we become mothers is our lives are no longer our own, right? It ceases to be that you see things that you want to do through your own lens. Everything becomes, every decision you make, everything you do, or should, to be quite frank, is through the lens of yourself as a mum. So I often think about this whole issue mainly through the lens of my daughter. Like, what world do I want for her? Now, my sons are in a very different position. There's other things that I think about with regards to them, and then there's some that I think about all my kids. But it stops being even your own mortality. Like, even whether or not you want to live or die, or whether your life is worth anything, when you become a mum, and I don't know if this happens so much when you become a dad, but when you become a mum, you don't even have choices about your own life. You can't start taking copious amounts of cocaine, for example. That maybe you can when you don't have children. I don't know if that's a choice you want to make, but you can't make those choices when you're a mother. So that's why a man in a woman's toilet that maybe you might have been young, cool and stupid about at 25, and you'll be like, oh, there's no harm, it's no harm. Suddenly when you become a parent, you're like, oh God, what if my daughter was in that space? what if my child is in that space? Like, what happens then? So, Sean Fay, that's the answer to what happens to women when we become mothers. Well, often we start giving a shit. And we really, really do care. And then when we get to about 50, we actually have no shits left to give. So much fun. If you're not 50 yet and you still care a little bit about things, just wait. I mean, when they talk about women's liberation, they should have just said 50. They should have just said, just wait. Just wait. Liberation comes and it's glorious. And it might not come for everybody around you. They might still see you as like somebody who's a bit invisible. It doesn't really matter, but you don't give a fuck. And so it's ultimately liberating. Anyway, right, I think what we're going to do now, if you don't know about this, what I like to do now is I like to go and, I don't know, ruffle a few abayas down in a few sort of black and white scarves or whatever, down in the area they call Speaker's Corner. Now the reason we go down there is because men arguing about God have sort of thought that vaginas don't belong there. And so I like to go and take up a little bit of space on behalf of all the women that have not been fucking listened to by the likes of those men for 6 or 7 decades. Now, some of them might be victims of grooming gangs, some of them might be victims in their own homes. They might not be able to speak. Some of them won't even know that they're brainwashed and that they can't talk, or that they live in this particularly patriarchal kind of culture where they're not allowed to speak about stuff. And I just want to remind those men, in my lipstick with my peroxide hair waving in the wind, that's our space, and we're going to take it back, and we're going to go there all the time. And they do find it uncomfortable. It's like, oh my god, it's like, what are those things? Ooh, what are those things? And we're women, and that's why we're going to go and do it. So do follow. We don't stay there very long. I'm not hoping to get stabbed. I think it's really important with what's happening to women all over the world, in particular in Muslim countries, where they don't have the right to speak, they don't have the right even to look out the kitchen window. I think it's really, really important that we have these freedoms, and we must not give up a single inch of those freedoms, because we owe it to women everywhere who cannot make a stand without it being a genuine threat to their safety and their lives. So that's why we do it, and also because it's so much fucking fun. So let's go. Oh, I haven't done it, Mary.
What? Oh God,
if
yes.
you
Yes.
I'm so excited by my own self. If you can walk in places like that, and you genuinely don't give a shit, and even if you do, even if you're worried that you do it anyway, then I promise we will win. If you can keep speaking the truth, and if you can appreciate those that take giant leaps forward on behalf of women, even if you don't fucking like them, then I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Why? Well, I nearly forgot. Because I never lose! Let's go. Let's go, Mary, all right?
Hey, all right. No. Yes. Hopefully get to the bar quick.
Oh, mind the step. Somebody's shoes.
Mine are. Well, you would wear white, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm going to Well, yeah.
To avoid using a ladder.
What's happening at the moment is just... I just can't. It's too unreal.
She's probably well brought up though. Oh, well. Better be embarrassed. For those who know about in London, at Christmas they have the Winter Wonderland, and that's why this grass is trying to come back, decimates it. I know, it's the Arctic. Well, that was foolish. It's Britain. I know. You know. Right, so we're heading there, as you can see, to the world-renowned Speaker's Corner, which, as Kelly says, it really is just one lot of men saying, "My God's bigger than your God." But every now and then, it's nice to go and shake them up a bit. We didn't have any visitors today, did we? Is it too cold for them? Tucked up. I mean, no, they've actually already come. Yes. Now I've been meaning to come for ages. It's always been a weekend of work. Oh, right, yes. In Somerset. Oh, they happen to be visiting. Oh, everything is. Yeah, directing you here today. Yeah. I was hoping Stella would be here, but she said she couldn't. Yeah, she's here more spirit, isn't she? Yeah, oh, in spirit, yeah. If you know Stella, you'll probably be right. I met Stella the Right, so as you can see, our pub. As you can see, the main demographic. Hurrah! At least there's yes, and angry a lot. Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be a great angle.
Just the top one.
If you can hold it as near to me as possible.
Yep, you can do that.
We decided to come to Speaker's Corner because a lot of these men think that we should hide. A lot of these men think that women shouldn't speak. And so what happens is this whole area has been occupied by men whinging about God. So what we thought we'd do is we come and reclaim some of this space because women are allowed to speak. Some of us even have windows. We're allowed to look out of. We're allowed to wave our hair in the wind. We're allowed to dress how the fuck we like and say the words we want to say when we want to say them. And some men here, because you'll notice, very male dominated, this And that's because when we made the laws about this, they just thought that you can't have amplification. And that's because most women aren't blessed with such a crazy loud voice as me. And so women stopped speaking here because when we first started coming here, we'd get very loud men, one of them in a cowboy hat, shouting right next to us about Christianity, and then we couldn't be heard. And so what we decided is that we went all the way down to Reformers Tree. Are you getting this, Mary? All the way down to Reformers Tree so women could speak. But I feel that this is kind of our place that we now are going to reclaim. Yes. So I'm very happy to do that. Because while these men are arguing with each other, quite often they're forgetting about their women. Because they're too busy here. And what those women are doing is often having to share their private spaces with men. So I don't see these men talking about that. I don't see them saying, do you know what, our females deserve female-only spaces away from men who call themselves women. They're too busy arguing about the afterlife. So, this is what we're talking about.
The gentleman asked Madam, are you married?
Women. I'm taken. I'm so sorry.
No, we love women. Without women, we won't be here. But this man is interested in something.
I'm already married.
That's it. No more. No more.
Anyway, that's what we want to do. We want women in Iran to be free.
Yes. Everywhere free. We want him free everywhere.
To wear whatever they want.
But they
So
are,
they're not imprisoned.
but they are
for
free,
showing
madam.
their hair.
But they are free. But they are free in
We
Iran.
want women in Afghanistan
They are free.
to be
I saw them.
free
I saw them.
like men in Afghanistan.
They are free. They are free, madam. They are free.
Oh, they do miss the point, don't they?
Oh, lady, she's atheist. She doesn't believe in it. She's a freedom.
Every person, regardless of religion, every woman has the right to show her hair in public without being imprisoned or beaten. And every teenage girl in this country has the right not to be groomed and raped. And we will continue to speak to the women in this country and all over the world until all of you fucking men leave them alone.
But she's a fucking.
Trans women rule! Trans women rule! Trans women rule! Trans women rule!
Well done.
We love trans women! You guys suck! You guys suck! You guys suck as Philippines!
Bless him.
You like dick! 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 Right, show us. You like dick! We love women! We love men! Yeah!
At work!
Your turn. Obviously, there's a campaign. You're the one that's
T-E-R-S!
A bunch of paranoid lunatics. I like trans women.
Go lover! Go lover!
Let's go.
Go suck their dicks if you want!
Very rude.
Well, on that happy note, I'll turn it off. Right, she's all right, she's there. And we're off, of course, to the pub. Right. Signing out, Speaker's Corner, London, 23rd of February, 2025.